Good morning and welcome to Woodlands North. Are you interested in a budget-friendly, down-filled hammock cocoon? If you are, I'm going to get into the one from OneTigris coming up next. Ever since I've got my Snug Pack hammock cocoon, I'm absolutely in love with that thing. But now that I have Junior coming with me on some of these trips, I'm looking for another product. And not that the Snug Pack is bad in any way. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite items to have. The only thing is that it's big and it's bulky. That's why I turned to a down cocoon. They seem to be a lot lighter, at least for the amount of warmth they give, and pack down a lot nicer. So let's get into this one right now. Okay, first thing, the cocoon comes with a nice storage sack. This isn't to carry it around, but rather just to store it, so you don't have to have it super compressed, because of course down does not like being compressed for a super long period of time. So this is like a nice breathable case that you can store it in at home. It does also come with this nice compression sack, so you could really torque this down to keep the form factor nice and small, and that's it right there. Okay, so I've taken the cocoon out of its stuff sack here, and you can see it's starting to kind of loft up a little bit. Laying it in the hammock because I just don't want it to get dirty on the ground. So this appears to be the foot end here, and if you could see, there's some adjustments here. So it looks like these two on the side tighten the sides here, so I guess if you're using it as an underquilt, you can adjust it that way. And then there's another adjustment here. It's just shock cord with loops, and it looks like you could kind of tighten up the foot end to keep the drafts out. That's pretty tight there. I'll loosen it for now, but I'm going to have to tighten it so that I don't get a draft in here for my feet. And this looks at the head end here, and it looks like there is a removable hood. So you see here, there's a zipper. Okay, so now the hood comes off. All right, now we're going to attempt to install this guy here. So I'm going to just kind of drape it over my shoulder for now. Try to keep it off the ground. Going to unhook my hammock. Going to kind of pass the head end through here. Lift this back up. So each end has these little shock cord with toggles, and you use this to attach to your straps or your line. Now, I don't know that you need carabiners. I always keep them with me, and I just real simply just pass it through, and then it's in. Now you can sort of start adjusting it as to how tight you need it. Same for this side. And what I'm going to do, I think I want it nice and tensioned here, so I'm just going to wrap it around here a couple times. If I didn't have carabiners, I think I would just make a couple knots here, no big deal. Just making my life easy. Okay, so now I have a little bit of tension on there. And I think I want, these trees are pretty close together, so I'm right at the top of my strap, so what I think I'm going to do is just try to lash around a few times here. And then through my carabiner. And that has some pretty decent tension now. Okay, so now there's an adjustment on this side. I can tighten this up pretty good here. Okay, so now I'm going to make an attempt to get in here and see how it fits. I don't like having my boots on in the hammock. So off they come. By the way, YKK zippers, Nice addition at this price point. I'm going to unzip this a little bit here. Make sure I'm not putting too much weight on here. Looks pretty good. Okay. All right. So it looks like I'm covered right to my shoulder, which is here. Perfect. Same on this side. My feet are covered. And I'm pretty much right up to my neck here. Sides here are covered. My hands are tucked in. Wow. Feels pretty nice so far. One possible issue I'm noticing already, you can see there, I can't quite get this any tighter, and there's a little bit of a draft I could feel. It's cold today. It's like -2. This thing is rated to, I think, -5. I'm warm, other than I feel a little draft by my feet there. So I think we're gonna have to find a way to deal with that. You know what? I actually have quite a bit of room in here. If I want to shift my legs a little bit, go on my side, no problem. Ample room. Now this one is the short size. It comes in long if you want to cover your entire face. I don't think that's a good idea for me. I tend to produce a lot of condensation, so I don't want the down getting wet, and I don't want to be clammy in the middle of the night. So I think this is good for me, and I think my son will like it too. I'm gonna take a little nap. Do you remember the removable hood we took off the sleeping bag? Well, I think I just found a good use for it. I think that, remember that problem I was telling you about with a little bit of draft in the foot area? Well, if you take this, looks like you can actually stuff it in there, and that is now pretty nicely sealed. So that should fix that problem. Also, I notice here it's got 2 tie-outs. So I guess if you got some shot cord or something, you could actually wrap it around here and tie it up a little bit better. All sorts of options. This thing is pretty versatile. So far I'm quite impressed. So what I've done now is set this up as an underquilt. The only thing I did is I unzipped the zipper, opened it up, and each side has 3 shock cords. And when I had it as a cocoon, I only set it up with 1. This didn't come with instructions, so it seemed to work fine. But now that I've got it as an underquilt here, I've set up all 3, and all I've done is just taken them out and attached them to my carabiner on each end. So now I've got 3 lines here. And you can see it sits up nicely against here, the hammock, and I think it's going to work well. Let's get in and check it out. Okay, so there you have it. My shoulder's right here. Here's the top of my shoulder, so it's just covering the top. This side is good. Looks like it's just covering my feet. So I'd say that it works pretty well. Now, I don't know why you'd want to do this instead of having the cocoon. At the very least, I would probably zip the bottom and make a nice little foot box, keep your feet nice and warm. But I guess if you did have a really thick top quilt that you wanted to use and you didn't want this compressing it, although there is a fair bit of room in it, you would use it this way. One more thing to show you here, because it's got another trick up its sleeve here. You can use it as a sleeping bag as well. So what I've done, I've gone and cinched the bottom end pretty tight here, and there's still, again, a little tiny hole here. So this might be something we need to address. Let's crawl into it. All right. Seems to fit decently. Yeah, I still have some room in here. Can bend my legs no problem. Sleep on my side. Again, the only thing I see is I gotta feel a small draft down here. There is a bit of a wind today, and I guess it's coming in, but you know what? All in all, I kind of like this product. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this. I'm going to give you my final thoughts. So this is a well-priced and very functional hammock cocoon. I paid around $100 for this, and it's down-filled. That's, if you look around, down-filled products are usually quite expensive. Now, it doesn't give you any detail as to what type of down they use, so I'm sure it's not, you know, an 800 fill power or anything like that, but it does seem to, you know, keep me warm and does seem to be pretty well built. I like how functional it is. You can use it as a top quilt, you can use it as a sleeping bag, you can use it as a hammock cocoon, you can even use it as an underquilt. You know, it's just very well thought out and I think pretty well made. They say the temperature rating of this bag is 5 degrees when used as a sleeping bag and down to the freezing point when used as a hammock cocoon. I'm not sure why the difference. I'm guessing because if you're using it as a sleeping bag, you're sort of compressing the bottom and it's taking some away from that. But I think that those numbers are probably on the low end. Some people might be okay at freezing, some may not, but I think they are pretty close. The beautiful part of this product is that it can be used as a modular system. You can put a hammock sock over it and increase the temperature there. You could wear a small sleeping bag inside it and, you know, just go from there. You could put a sleeping pad underneath and again, it's gonna increase the temperature rating of this. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that it has many uses and that it can be used as part of a modular system. So I paid about $100 for this here. That's a pretty good deal when you consider it's down filled. Now they don't give you any details to what type of fill power it is, so I'm going to guess it's a lower end down. I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I do have other sleeping bags that are, you know, 550 filled down, I think they are, and I actually use those quite often. It just means they're going to weigh a little bit more for the weight rating, and I'm okay with that because the only other product I have is my Snug Pack Cocoon. That's around 4.5 pounds, and this is, I think, a little bit over 3 pounds. So I'm still saving a pound, and it's also quite a bit smaller and compacts quite nicely. So I'm actually quite happy with it. I think they've thought it out pretty well, you know, given it many different functions, and it does all those functions reasonably well. I think it's definitely best suited as a hammock cocoon. And just so you know that this is not the large size, this is the smaller size. So if you want it to cover more of you, or if you're over 6 feet tall, I would probably suggest you look at the long size instead of this. It just barely fits me. I'm 6 feet tall myself, so something to consider. Now, the only complaint I had was the foot box. Really, it's not a big deal. It cinches down fairly tight, but there's just a tiny opening there, and it's enough that a cold draft can and will get in, and you're going to end up with cold feet if you don't address that. There's some easy ways to do it, like I've shown you in the video, and I'm sure there's some other creative things that you can think of as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please consider subscribing or give me a thumbs up, and do write down in the comments. I would very much appreciate it. Also, I'd like to see you back in the next video. Please take care.